What's going on, guys? Welcome to TK's Garage 405. Make sure you like, subscribe, share me around on social media. TK's Garage 405 on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So today we're going to be doing some more work on my Camaro here. Trying to get as much done as I can while I'm at home. I've got to get back to work here and keep the family fed. So probably be heading out tomorrow morning. So I'm going to do a few odds and ends here today. So I'll show you what I've done so far. Welcome to TK's Garage 405. Check out the new hoopty. So nothing too exciting here. I just started putting the accessory stuff on there. You saw the last video we had all the alternator and everything on there already. Like I said, don't think that's gonna fit, but you know, it actually might fit if it had a cowl hood. I'm not sure when, like if you had one that started kind of humping up earlier, it very well might clear, which I was planning on doing down the road, but my son was installing this side on the headers here, and I don't think he realized it's close, but when you go to push it up, it's like it's got a lot of pressure. It's hard to show you, but so it sits, but like when you push it up, it's like the very bottom right on the frame there. It's just a little bit where it needs to go basically tilt this way, and it's hitting the frame there, so it's making it like, I feel like if I tighten it up there, it would probably tighten, but I don't want to strip the heads because they're aluminum, and also I don't want it to like vibrate the threads out or end up like being some issue down the road or whatever, or leaking or whatever. So I just tipped the headers back out here. Like I said, they fit really well. I think just a little tiny bit of a dimple right where down where they're touching there, which is down by the right there where the weld is. Basically, it just needs a little bit of a tap there, just like a 1/4 inch little tap there, and then it should be good to go. So I'd rather just do that while we've got them loose here or whatever. And I ended up changing these 2 coils, which is funny. I just saw somebody talking about this the other day. I forget which one's which now, but I believe this style, apparently they spontaneously just like put out full power and toast an engine, so might be changing those yet. I did break those other 2 I was kind of showing you the other day. I dropped the parts engine that I had there on its side, not on purpose. It tilted on the pallet and I broke 2 of them. So I don't know. This should be good enough to get it running, but I might have to deal with that. So no big deal. Got the dipstick in there. I'll screw that to the firewall. Yeah, just some little things here I'd like to kind of start working on. So I want to get this thing fired to see if it even, you know, if the transmission is good and all that stuff, because I'm taking a flyer that was a used transmission from a supposedly reputable shop, but you never know with Facebook Marketplace. So it looks like I got plenty of room up here. I'm going to grab the belt and see if the belt will actually go on it now, but I was trying to put the spark plugs in before I bolted the headers up. That's how I found this conundrum. So my son just probably thought they were so close that they were going to bolt up, but I went to push them up just to check, and it just kind of wasn't quite enough. So I'm going to give those headers just a tiny little ding there, and then we should be good to go. Okay, so I give them a little hit there. I didn't go crazy, but you can just tell they're definitely like a lighter metal. They probably wouldn't last like 10 years like a good pair would, but they're probably lighter. And you know what light means? It makes it go faster. All right, guys, so I just gave it a little love tap with first I tried with the body hammer, but that didn't work. So I grabbed the BFH there and didn't take much at all. So I think it fixed itself there, self-clearanced. So now I'm putting the spark plugs in it. I show you guys this lots. This is a different type of stuff, but it's by AIM Lubricants. I use their general purpose spray oils and things like that all the time on my chains and binders and kids' bikes, and I mean everything under the sun around here. So I use the grease for little things like this. Of course, just like as I'm doing things, I'm just making mistakes, right? I just was carrying a handful of spark plugs over here and I dropped one. It was a good thing I noticed because it had a crack in it. So cracked the porcelain a little bit. So it's just things that happen, but that's also why I probably wouldn't have even attempted this build if I didn't have duplicates of a bunch of stuff, like, because I mean, when you're trying to do a budget build, this kind of stuff will just nickel and dime you to death, right? So if you can buy an engine that's complete with all the stuff, at least you know that you have, even if you replace some of it, like water pumps and alternators and all that stuff, at least you have spares in a bind, or if something doesn't fit quite right or whatever. So just my opinion, but so I'm gonna try to get these all, just put a little bit of grease on the threads here on all of them. These were fairly new plugs out of the spare engine there. So I'll put all these in, and then I kind of took a peek at it on this side. At least it looks like there's actually clearance to get the plugs in and out, so that would be a bonus. Yeah, at least it looks like there's clearance for the wires, because that's a big issue on LS builds, especially if you go like turbo stuff. You see it a lot. Like I got a friend that just, I think it's his number 7 wire, just burns all the time, and that you see that like lots in the LS world because the way the headers are, if you've got to use a certain type of headers because the engine compartment space is tight or whatever. So that causes problems sometimes where you're trying to when you're trying to work in a small space. My engine bay, actually, because it's, I mean, these generations of cars, even though I would say it wasn't super roomy under here, it's still a lot roomier than a lot of the modern cars. So I'm gonna get these spark plugs in here and then move on to whatever I'm gonna do next here, which I haven't figured out yet. So I went uptown, I grabbed some, I should show you this first, I suppose. These are Cometic grade 5 LS and LXX header bolts there. So they are M8 1.25 by 25 millimeter. You can see they're not like, I don't know if you can tell here, but they're not like super snug in the holes. Like the holes are bigger than the bolts. But anyways, I was using my 10 millimeter wrench there to tighten up the bolts, and I dropped it down right in like the worst possible spot. So I'm gonna have to fish that out of there now, apparently. Okay guys, so I got the headers on here. I think I pretty well got them snugged up. So just working on putting the last of the spark plugs in here. So just gonna keep greasing them, but like I said, this header was just, it was a little bit tight there. It's definitely, no, it's got clearance though. I thought maybe it was touching part of the frame there, but it's not, so that's good. So I'm just putting a little bit of grease on these so they're going okay. Like I said, a whole bunch of the other ones were broken. I don't know if they were just like when the guy pulled them out there, they got broken or whatever, but it is what it is anyways. So I would like to change them because the other ones are iridium and these are just regular plugs, so I'll probably end up switching them anyways. And actually, so far, unless I run into one that's not, but so far they're pretty super easy to access. I'm not 100% sure on spark plug wire access yet, but it looks like I don't see any issue here. I think I can just use straight boots. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Sometimes they look like they got clearance, and then when you got to put them on, they're not. So hoping the factory style ones just sort of fit here. Man, these are some beefy tubes on this thing. This is pretty awesome. You think like small block Chevy stuff, it was pretty common for most people to just have 1 5/8 primaries. These ports on these things are so big that like 1 7/8 is like nothing, right? And that back in the day, if you had a 1 7/8 header on like a small block Chevy or something like that, that was a huge header. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, the spark plugs are so far so good. 2 more to go here. Let's see if we can get these in without too much trouble here or whatever, but super excited. Like I said, I got almost all the parts. To be honest, this is almost going to be the car I've wanted it to be for a lot of years. So it'll be kind of cool to see when it comes together. As long as it runs like it should run, it'll be kind of exciting to actually see it hopefully do what it's been intended to do for the last 20 years. It's just, man, it got to like 13.0 really super quick early in its life when I bought it. Like I said, it originally started as a 305 car. Sorry, it was a V6 car. It was a 2.8 fuel injected, and a bunch of my friends have had this car. So Troy, a friend of mine, Troy, had it, and I think it got passed to my buddy Phil, who I think he put a 350 in it, I believe. He was the first one to swap all of it. And then I think it went to Dana, who I bought it from, and he traded it for something to some guy, and I paid like $900 for it. I had a 305 high output out of it was still stock, like stock exhaust, stock everything, but burnt tires really good. But I drove it home. It was a 305 high output out of like a buddy of ours, IROC Camaro actually. And yeah, blew it up in like 4 hours, and then I put about 3 other 350s in it from the junkyard, and they were all smoking and just run terribly. They ran worse than 305 did. Just pouring smoke. I took it to the track a couple times. It was like a mosquito fogger. And then I was living in an apartment in the city. It was basically a bachelor's suite above a garage, and I got the garage included, and it was a heated garage and everything. And they told me that they sold the house, so they basically were kicking me out because I guess the new tenants either wanted new people or they just want to use it or whatever the deal was. I don't know exactly, but so I think I got like 30 days notice, and this car was all in pieces, and so that's how I ended up building the 400 that I still had in it up until just not very long ago here. So didn't have enough money to actually get it all assembled. I got my buddy to take it to machine shop there, and then they put these like 20 over claimer pistons in it, which was a really weird size, but I don't know if it was just something the guy in Lloydminster at the time had laying around or whatever, but he put these 20 over claimer pistons in it. They were like hyper-eutectic flat tops with like a 2-valve relief. And then I had a friend that I work with there that was a mechanic, and he's like, here's what you do to put it back together, and that's what we did. So we ended up like basically assembling it in my garage, and I just lubed everything like crazy with like basically white lithium assembly lube, and it's been running ever since. I had a bunch of different combos and different things with it there that I ended up putting a bunch of different heads on it. So it originally had like 624 heads, which is basically like 882s, which are like smog heads, like the worst heads GM ever made. So I had those on it when I first got it, and it didn't have steam hose drills, and it overheated the engine. So I bought it as a core, right? And that was what happened to it. So then I ended up getting that. So I did drill the steam holes when I put them on there. I think I ran them stock. I just put springs on them because I remember buying the cam, and then the guy at the machine or at the speed shop, they ran out of like the cheapo springs that he was going to give me, so he gave me comp springs for like the same price or whatever at the time. So yeah, it was just like I kind of got lucky there, and then put it back together. I don't know, it just ran really good, and it ran like very first because it's still like stock exhaust and everything. And I think it was running right around, I kept like gaining a little bit. It was like, I think the very first pass was like a 16.8 or maybe even a 17 something. And then it slowly worked its way down, started getting a little bit faster. I changed the carb on it, and it was like, this is like a part spin special. It's always been a part spin special, honestly, even to this day. But a friend of mine sold me his carb because he was upgrading his to, I think, like a double pumper or something. And so he sold me his Quadrajet, and I ran that thing on that. I still have it actually, but still in Canada yet in my storage. But I ran that thing right to pretty much for like over like almost 20 years there. So, and it was pretty reliable, pretty decent on fuel. Made good power actually. And then Freaking mosquitoes. Gonna be that time, I guess. So then I ended up changing the heads on it, and I put like double hump heads on it, like the old Fuelie style heads or whatever. And then they had too much compression, knocked a hole in the piston there, so took it into a machine shop to get it rebuilt or whatever. And then they, I forget what exactly happened, but long story short, one of the main caps, I think I broke the main cap. I took it into machine shop to get it line honed and assembled, and then they just put it back together without a line honing it. And then yeah, it was like I went to turn it over by hand to like rotate it to set the timing, and it was like seized pretty much because it wasn't a line honed. So then I took it back apart again. Then I took it into Edmonton, and they did all the work to it. And then I can't remember honestly if I assembled it the last time or not, or if they did, but that was around 2018. Just got it running and then drove it like once, or I took it straight to the track actually. We drove it to Lloydminster once, so like 30 miles, and then stripped all the teeth off of the freaking starter because it wasn't shimmed right, my bad. And then took it to the racetrack after that, and I made like 3 passes, and every pass something else was going wrong, and yeah, and that was the end of it. And then I sold it, and I bought it back how it was. So that's the story so far anyways. So, and it always ran. It was like I said, the very last pass that I, like when I took it to the track the very last time, it was so it originally had like I said, the worst smogger heads, whatever. Well, the last time, and it had like a smaller cam in it, and it was just, honestly, it was like stockish type stall, things like that. And it was just pretty weak combo, Q-Jet, whatever. When I took it back, it had trick flow heads. It had this 3600 stall that's in it right now. What else did it have done? Like a whole bunch. Like it was, I forget. I did a whole bunch. It was a Holley double pumper, just bigger cam, all that kind of stuff. So, and it should have went faster. It had more, well, it had the same compression, I guess, but it was just aluminum headed or whatever. So I should have went faster, and then the very first pass, it left so hard it broke the torque arm. So that for some reason, I don't know why I had 2 torque arms the same with me. I don't even know why. It's not even something I'd ever think. I think I just had it laying in the back of the truck because I just bought it or something like that. And I towed it to the track. And then so I changed that and then figured that out or whatever. And then the next pass, the rocker arm fell off. And then the pass after that, or maybe the second pass or something like that, the spark plug wire I forgot to put back on, rushing to try to get back and make another pass. And then the pass after that, one of the rockers fell off, and just wasn't a whole bunch of good happening there. So I just pretty much gave up on her. So that's where we're at today. Okay, getting to a point with this thing where it's actually gonna start to look like an engine, which is kind of exciting. I'm stoked. I know this carb probably needs to be for sure taken apart and cleaned. It was running when I pulled it off of here. Oh, that's satisfying. But it won't take long to pull it back off if we need to. So it sucks that these things don't have a mechanical fuel pump that you could just, because then I wouldn't need to run this inline pump. I do have the new fuel tank, but I'm itching to start this thing. I could actually start it if I put the inline fuel pump. It probably would pump, but they say it could burn it out. So these pumps are pretty expensive, so I don't really want to burn out a pump. Plus I probably have to finagle the fittings to figure all that out too. I might have to buy a new connection for the side here, because I think a couple of these fittings were leaking, I believe. It's just gas. No big deal. Probably gonna need a socket and a ratchet to tighten this down here, but man, now we're talking. I'm hoping I'm not regretting not putting the wires on the starter prior to doing all of this. I should have done that before I put the headers on, probably. Usually you can get at it, but I don't know what it's like down there. Yeah, there's probably clearance actually from the bottom. It's probably just a pain. I'll wait till my son's helping me again. If I put the MSD on it right now and I pour gas in it, it would start. Oh, I'm not gonna lie, that's tempting. That is tempting. Well, then I'll start. I still have to hook up the starter and the battery and all that stuff, I guess. So, not that close, but close, closer. Cool though. We're actually making some progress here finally. I'm really hoping I can just get away with running this carb how it was. Like I said, I don't know for sure. I put it on my engine, so it came right off a running engine in 2018. Then the guy bought it, and then he basically only drove it a couple times. So I mean, it's probably sitting for 5 years or something stupid. So really, it probably needs to be pulled apart. And I don't really know anything about these, to be honest. I got the 750 that came with it as well, which maybe could be an option. I don't know for sure how good that thing ran. It was like, I noticed like when I pulled this thing apart, the plugs are super rich on it. I don't know if that's just because he was just screwing around and he didn't actually drive it anywhere and he was just idling it, but we'll figure that out. So I'm gonna grab a socket and tighten this up and then we'll come back to this. I'm just thinking as I'm doing this, don't let future Kevin forget to put oil on this thing because the oil pan was off because we pulled it off to clean it and there's not a drop of oil in it. So current Kevin, don't let future Kevin start this thing without oil. I don't want to get too excited. That's what happens. That's why I'm trying not to rush it because I know that's what happens. I end up getting excited and then missing something. I'm gonna see if I can order these fittings off of, oh, it looks like there's a fitting for a pressure gauge there too. That's good to know. I didn't see that before, but I think it was leaking in the carb probably. Yeah, it was probably that one because you can see how the line's twisted down here a little bit. I think it was dripping a little bit, and then there was a fitting dripping back here or something that had the filter on it, so I just took that off to start it last time we ran it. But this fuel tank has quite a bit of like which is weird because I've always ran premium, but maybe he ran regular in it. He probably did because that's old. I mean, it just wasn't. I don't think he was the swiftest guy there, so maybe that was some of the issue too, but I topped it off with premium last time. I don't know how much maybe I filled it. I hope I didn't because we only drove it for 10 minutes and that would mean the fuel tank's full when I go to change it. So I did buy a sumped fuel tank. A guy had bought for his car. It was a brand new tank and then he put the sump in it. So hopefully if I put gas in that thing, it's not just flooding because I wanted to be able to run it in my pump in case I have problems and it goes bad. I could just buy another pump, right? So that's what the thinking was. I took this belt that was off of the spare engine, which should have been the same accessory drive, unless I'm just doing it wrong because I tend to do that. But it's loose on here, so there's a possibility that I'm just doing it wrong somehow here. Actually, just looking at it right this second, I think I am doing it wrong because I think it goes like this. Let's see here. Maybe we can actually get this right. I'm sure it's the same. I think it goes like this, then around here, then around here. Aha! I did have it right. Whew, starting to look like an engine. All right, get some of this stuff out of there. Stop making it look so terrible here. Ruining the vibe. All right, I'm excited. I do need to figure out where I'm gonna mount this MSD box. All right guys, so I'm doing this without a mic tonight. Sorry about the audio a little bit there, but so I'm just trying to figure out some of the wiring going to this MSD box here. Some people have complained that they're not very good about instructions, but it looks to me like every one of them is like this one you can see it says crank sensor. So the only thing for me is like I'm not super familiar with these engines, like not at all if I'm being honest. So it's just figuring out where those sensors are and then putting them in there and getting them to work. So the first one will be the crank sensor, which is, man, I get the crank and the cam sensor confused all the time, but the crank sensor is behind the behind the starter, which I'm hoping, although we put this, all the exhaust and everything on here, that might not have been the smartest decision of my life here. And how that's all gonna route through here. And then the other one is the the cam sensor, which this one doesn't have a cam sensor, I don't think. I don't know, figure it out, I guess. All right, so this thing, the radiator was changed by the guy that bought it for me because he said it was overheating, which I don't know why it was, whatever, but and then they hooked the fan up live, so when you turn the key on, it's all the time. But originally, the last time I had it here, and actually that reminds me, this radiator connection was leaking here. So, but anyways, it's just got a plug like where I don't even know what it was. But I had bought, again, parts bin special off my buddy there. He had like an 80s G-body radiator, and it just happened to fit perfectly. So that was the one that was in here that I changed from the factory one in like early 2000s, and up until this guy put one in. So I'm gonna try to put this in. If you guys remember a video that I've shut it down, like when we were trying to get the other engine running right. I'll show you here. Just remembered that. I'll probably forget again before I go to actually hook everything up, but just this plug here, it was cracked and it blew out there, so just need to put some sort of plug over top of that. So I'm gonna try to set this into place here. We'll see what it looks like with all the connections. I was hoping that I could just maybe cut this factory hose here. I really want to get a better radiator with electric fans and all that kind of stuff that would maybe cool better and things like that. I did look at the parts store today, and they have a reversible electric fan that was like a 16-inch. I'm thinking instead of using the factory one that was pretty squealy and takes up a bunch of space in front of the engine here, I'm thinking that I'll probably end up buying one of those, or unless I can find a radiator with electric fans or something, but I just don't know exactly how everything fits here. So let's take a peek here and see how this is going to go. It's pretty tight in here to begin with. It almost looks like if I just kind of stretch out this factory radiator hose, I can kind of give it a little twist here. And I think it looks like, I know it's sat kind of weird in here, but it looks like the only problem is the mount. So the factory shroud holds the radiator down, so that would have to be addressed. I don't know. I'm not a fabricator. I don't have anything to fabricate with, but thinking here, maybe I might be able to use, this is the hose that was on it too. Probably shouldn't use that one. That's been on, this is a truck. This is off my truck, my 2015 with like 440,000 miles. Finally changed that, so it was not very long ago. So I probably shouldn't use that one, but it feels pretty rock hard too. But that one I can maybe use for a template. This one might actually fit better. So maybe able to do that. What else we got going on here? The radiator lines, they're hydraulic lines, but they're running really close to the headers here. So I might have to try to, like, I don't know, it's gonna be super tight. I think we're gonna have to put some clips or something like on the firewall to hold them up until they go past the headers and then drop them back down again. So the top of the radiator and where this top rad hose is very close in height. So I'm hoping that isn't gonna turn into a problem. I have no idea how I'm gonna run a hose that way because it comes out over here and then it's gotta go back all the way to over here, which seems kind of ridiculous. I don't know what people do. Maybe the car style radiators or the car style water pumps have like a different outlet or something. I'm not sure, but sure I could figure something out. They make radiator hoses that have like a 90 built into them or whatever. Like probably even just taking this for example. Man, that's gonna be a long radiator hose. I'll see what other F-body guys are. With the internet the way it is today, it's easy to find information on this kind of stuff, but this is pretty cool. I've heard also that you can use the factory power steering pump. Let me try a different air cleaner, because this is the one that was actually on the car, on this air filter, and it looks better, I think. Let's try this part 2 of this deal. I don't think that's supposed to come out. I guess it doesn't really matter. All right, guys, getting back at it here today. I had the whole accessory drive on, everything ready to go. Of course, like usual, I made a mistake. So when I ordered that other ICT billet cover, and the only reason I did that is because it had turbo drains on it. Otherwise I'd just use the stock one again and it wouldn't have been this problem. But I ordered one for a Gen 3 by accident. I thought I had ordered the Gen 4 one, and when we put it all together, it does not have the camshaft sensor in it. So I ended up having to order another one. I'm gonna have to send that one back, I guess. So now I've got to take the whole accessory drive off. I have to pull that front timing cover, and hopefully I can get at the bolts there. Looks like I can probably, so no sense in recording all this because it's just going to be the exact same thing I just did here. So I'm just going to quickly rip this all apart. Trying to find parts for my 9-inch rear. If not, then I'm going to probably, I don't know, I found a 9-bolt. I might throw that in there. We'll see. I'm trying to rush because there's actually a race tomorrow, but I don't think I have any chance of even getting this thing running by tomorrow. But hey, figure I might as well see what I can do here anyways. So needs still a lot of stuff here, so I'm gonna get jamming here. I got in super late last night, so I slept in a little bit today, but lots to do here, so I'm gonna get rolling. I just wanted to show you guys some of the better water pumps. They come with these like style of gaskets where you don't have to glue them. This pump actually came with ones that weren't, but I had an extra one and it had these gaskets, so I just put some grease on them so that they basically wouldn't stick to the block, and that makes it a lot easier to take apart. So probably the hardest part, I hope it just pulls off easy, but it's going to be to get this balancer off. So, and then I'm going to have to go get a new seal for this cover, so that'll be another thing. So get this apart, I guess, and then we'll whatever, move on to the next life. Stupid camera, every time I try to, like, if I accidentally start it sideways because I'm using my phone, it, whatever, anyways, doesn't matter. It ends up doing the upright thing for the camera view, which is super annoying. But this is kind of why people love these LS motors. They're so easy to take apart. I thought this was going to take me half the day, and it took me 15 minutes. So the hardest part, like usual, was to take off the balancer. And so this is the balancer socket. So like, and if you look at it, it's like a little bit smaller than the crank snout there. Oop. Laundry's done. It's a little bit smaller than the crank snout. So I just put that on there. I took a 3-jaw gear puller and I used my Ryobi Impact, and I just kept working it. And it's just like this 3-jaw gear puller that I got is just basically like a Chinese special, right? So you can see it here. It's nothing special. If it had lock nuts, it would be better because, of course, it wants to vibrate the nuts off as you're going. And I just got this Ryobi thing. I couldn't record it while I was doing. My wife's using the tripod right now, but nothing exciting. You guys already seen me do this, so that's what she is anyways. So took a little bit of effort to get that off. I wish I would have greased it. I did tell my son that the first time, and he's like, I don't think so. I'm like, yeah, I think so next time I'm gonna grease it, but it came off fairly easily. I think I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on here too. I'm gonna have to scrape this off now because we talked about that last time. Down here, you gotta put a little bit of, to fill in those gaps there. So I'm gonna have to clean that seal off now. Hopefully that doesn't start dripping on me. And, but yeah, like I said, took that whole accessory drive and everything off in like 15, 20 minutes probably. So, but anyways, like I said, this is the socket that I just put it on there. I put the tip of the thing against it there so that it couldn't slide out, because if you just try to shove a bolt or something in there, it wants to slip off, right? So I was originally going to do this, but then I remembered I had the socket last time that I used. So this is the one I pulled off. I'm gonna put the exact same one back on, except it's going to have the cam sensor, because you can't run the MSD box without the cam sensor, you dummy. That was really stupid, but whatever, it is what it is. I'm learning, make mistakes, forget things, whatever. So I'm gonna have to get another crank seal, or sorry, cover seal here, because this didn't come in the kit. There is one brand on Amazon that you can get that has it, but it didn't have any reviews, and it had all the gaskets for everything, like all this stuff too. It was a little bit cheaper, but the one I got was an ICT billet, same with this one. So I'm probably just gonna return this one since I ordered the wrong one. So they're $120, so whatever. I just figure if I get one with the turbo drains now, then when I turbo it, if I turbo it, never know how life takes you, but if I turbo it, then I don't have to do that again. So that's something to think about. So I'm gonna try to figure out the seal. Time is it here? Yeah, should be able to head over there soon and pick up a seal for this thing, and then yeah, should be good to go. All right, guys. So got the whole accessory drive off there or whatever. I realized I needed a seal here, so you need the front cover seal. Basically going back to square one here again. I don't have a seal punch thing, so I'm just gonna tap it in. It's a little different seal than the last one I put in. The last one went in tight. It was kind of hard to get in, but this one is a precision bearings and seals. The part number is 100470. So I'm gonna just put a little of this aim grease on it here, so that it helps it go in a little bit easier. And then we'll just go around in a circle with the hammer, I guess. And hopefully, it feels like this one's just a little bit looser when I kind of started to press it in there a little bit by hand. So hoping this one goes in a little bit easier. Probably helps to put a little bit on the center of this thing too. So remember we talked about last time there, you're supposed to basically you're supposed to put the balancer on to center all of the seal and everything here when you're doing putting this front cover on. So we didn't do that last time. I probably should, but let me grab a hammer here. Had to grab some paper towel, so just gonna take it, start. Oh, this one went way easier. Much better. The other one you had to beat on it almost, so that's good. And then like I say, I'm gonna put a little bit more actually. I'm gonna put it right on the seal, and then I'm actually gonna put a little on the crankshaft, because I don't know, if that thing stays on there for a long time before you go to pull it off again, it's gonna help it to not, be a nightmare to get off of there in the future. So I don't know if I'll pull this engine apart again anytime in the near future, but I mean, if it stays in there for a long time and I ever have to pull it apart for some reason, then at least that's gonna have some grease on it. It should be easier to get that off. Okay, so you can see I got the new front cover on there, the right one this time. You can see right here, this is what I was talking about. That's the camshaft sensor. I guess I don't know, I'll probably return the other one. I don't know if I'll ever build a Gen 3 engine, and I don't have any foreseeable plans to do another LS for a while. So even on a budget, it definitely costs money. So I would say if you're gonna attempt this, my personal opinion would be to try to buy as complete of something as you can, which is kind of what I did here. I'm only adding parts because I plan on doing the turbo later, but I could have used it how it was. So basically I bought this engine complete with all the ignition. I mean, it was complete, pretty much carb to pan. It came with carb, the intake, the whole bottom end was assembled. They had put a cam in it already. So I tore it down. The only thing I didn't check was the cam that he said was in it was actually in it, but you could tell it had been a part in the front end here. So I would say, I mean, he sent me videos of it running, so, but the rockers were like, there was like 2 or 3 rockers off, I think in the last, like a few videos ago there, I showed you guys that when I first started working on this thing. So there was that. Then on my trip yesterday, I was working and I was doing some research and whatnot, and then I realized that it looks like maybe I might have to, those 2 coils that I broke that are different, that switch that's on the MSD box that controls whether it's a car coil or a
truck coil, LS1 coil, whatever, right? That's controls basically how much energy is in there, I guess is what it kind of sounds like from what I was researching there. So I've got 2 mix match coils there, so I might have to put all the same ones on there. So that'll be that. So I do have 8 of the same ones. I could have just changed the plates, but I figured I'll just change these 2 coils because I had them on already, but I guess not. So figure something out there. It probably could use better coils. I don't know. Apparently the 2 that I put on aren't the best anyways. They say that those are the ones that can burn your engine down easily. New to all this LS stuff here. So, but anyways, like I said, if you're going to do this, people that say you can do this for like under $1,000 or something, I mean, I guess if you went with a stock LS and just EFI and you knew how to tune and do all the wiring and all that stuff, maybe you could. I don't know. But for me personally, it didn't work that way. And I didn't want everything to be ghetto either. I don't want a bunch of like things that are just cobbled together. So that's how this car has always been. And even though this is all used parts, like literally everything here is used and some of them are maybe questionable. I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard this thing run. I didn't see the transmission work. The rear end was a billion pieces when I got it. I'm still scrambling around to try to figure out what parts I need for that. So there's a lot of unknowns here, but I still think if everything works out, this is going to be the super cheapest way to do it. The car is really worth nothing. I mean, if you look at this car, it's worth nothing. You'd probably buy this car for $500 if it didn't. Even if it was a V6 car or whatever, you could buy this car for $500 and then do the same thing that I did or whatever. So that would be my suggestion. But I'm going to get back to work here. The next problem is, I forgot we had this problem too, getting the balancer on far enough to get the bolt to start pulling it in. So I think we just kept hitting it with the rubber mallet, but I'm gonna figure that out. So that's what I'm getting to now. Okay, so I got 2 sort of different ones here. The pulley size even looks different. Okay, so all of this that I just barely threaded this power steering pump setup in there, that's all factory. That's factory truck stuff basically. Vans maybe the same, I think, but I'm pretty sure it's just truck stuff. So then the engine I bought came with this deal, and what he did was he cut the bottom off because he wasn't using the power steering. Now I'm not really opposed to using the power steering, I just don't know how we use it. There's 2 lines, which I assume that's like Hydro Boost. So that's like vacuum, but then I only see 1 power steering line going into the actual pump, so I don't understand how that works. Unless I'm just missing one. Maybe I should take it back off and look closer, but I don't see it anywhere. I stood it up and I looked and I didn't see anything, so if there is one, it's in a really stupid spot. I do not see it, so I don't really understand how these ones work. So I'm debating, but then the only downfall would be I'll have to find another. Because what I'm worried about is it's going to be spinning this pulley and spinning the pump, but there's going to be no fluid in it, so I don't know. That's probably going to be an issue. It looks like this is pretty much the same bracket that they just hacked off. I'd also have to take that idler pulley and put it on there. Maybe not, I don't know. It might be an ordeal, so I'm gonna bolt it on, I think how it is. If I run into a problem, whatever, but this alternator looks like it's, you can see here, the bolt sticking at the top for the main power, so that might be an issue for me too. It's probably gonna wanna touch the hood. It's probably, I think this is gonna hit the hood. I don't see how that would clear. I could be totally wrong, but I'm 99% sure it's not gonna clear, so we might have to address that in some sort of way here. So okay, so what I'm trying to do here is I've decided that I bought a used tank off of Marketplace, like where I get everything else, and I'll show you guys. Just sort of look here. Oop. So there's like a heat shield here. I don't know how this is going to work because the sump goes backwards to the back of the car. And the tank looks like it sits up like a little ways here, so I'm not exactly sure how that's going to fit in there, where those lines are going to fall, but I got to try something here. So I'm kind of regretting not just putting a top fuel pump in it now. Might have been easier. But anyways, there's a heat shield here. I took all the screws out, and of course there's one screw right behind the exhaust. It's always something, man. So that's what I'm fighting with right now. I was gonna hook the starter up and try to get fuel to it first, just to make sure it starts and runs, because why go to all this other trouble if all that stuff doesn't work? But I'm missing one of the wires for the starter, so just continue on here. It's gonna have to be done anyway, so keep working at it. Yes.
So tell us what's going on here.
Well, what had happened was I thought maybe there was a fuel tank access already cut on the top, because most of the guys that own F bodies are hacks. But if you look at this thing, it's in pristine condition under here. The carpet wasn't in pristine, and now it's really not in pristine position. The condition. But I did realize that all this like insulation underneath this carpet is heavy. That's adding a lot of weight to this car. I bet you that would save 50 pounds just ripping that out of there. So going back to plan B again, I'll go back down and try to take the fuel tank out. So probably gonna have to drop the rear. It is what it is. Okay, so here's where we're at. Trying to get this stupid gas tank out of here. I ended up having to cut the exhaust off, which I absolutely did not want to do. I really like that exhaust, but it's probably not going to fit with this sump tank anyway, so it is what it is. I'm trying to take this like rear sway bar, or whatever you call it there, I guess the panhard bar or whatever it's called, off there, and I'm having a hard time getting it off. I had the impact on it with a swivel, and the socket fell off and kind of got me there. So there's a bunch of heat shields here that had to come off too. It's kind of a nightmare to work on it, like on your back like this, underneath it. If you had a hoist, this would be a lot easier, but it's what we got, so that's where we're at. So I'd like to get this gas tank out tonight yet, at least, but I don't think it's gonna go by that panhard bar there. So if I get that out of there, I think it'll probably come. And then I'm not sure how much slack's in the fuel lines and stuff, so that's probably the next problem. Okay guys, here's this morning's update. I quit last night because I smashed my fingers a whole bunch, and I was just getting tired, and it was getting dark, and so we got plenty of room to get this thing out of here, but it's hanging up on the filler neck on the tank, and I'll show you what I mean here. When we start pulling it out, right here at the top of where the gas cap is there, you can see there's that little lip, and then it's probably where the actual cap screws onto. It gets right to there, and then it hangs up on the edge of this hole. So I don't know, I don't really want to mess around. I mean, I could shape that hole a little bit differently, because I mean there's plenty of room there. I don't really want to cut because I'm scared that it's gonna throw a spark, and this gas tank's right full just about, so not 100% sure how to deal with this now. So that's where we're at this current time. I did check underneath before I actually pulled this thing out to make sure that it wasn't cut. I actually pulled back the carpet a little bit there, you could see, and it was not cut. So, but there is a lot of heavy carpet underneath there, so that's gonna have to get pulled out at some point, lighten it up, and probably put some kiln mat instead or something. So this is where we're at here. We tried a bunch last night, and I was just getting frustrated, so I said I was really hoping to have it out last night, but sometimes you just gotta quit and think a little bit. So now I gotta figure out how I'm getting it out. All right guys, my wife's been helping me here. We've been trying to get this fuel tank out. She ran uptown and grabbed a hacksaw so I can cut the end of it off there. You can see like the bend in it. So that's why they say you gotta have the rear out, because you need to be able to twist it. So I think I'm just gonna cut it, and then I'm gonna try to wiggle it back in. If it doesn't go, then I'll cut the new one and then just put a coupler in there. Don't really want to do that, but I don't plan on pulling the rear right out right now. So we're just topping it off here with oil, and I connected the starter up here. Gonna put the battery in it, and we're gonna bump it over and just make sure everything's okay, like it actually turns over how it's supposed to and all that stuff. Once we know that, then we know the rest of it should be okay to start putting back together. So making sure I'm not missing anything on the starter or anything else like that. So we'll see how that goes. All right guys, I've been killing myself out here, but gonna show you a little progress here. Might not seem like much. Still got lots to do to get it to fire, but there's that. I think the battery's had about enough, it looks like. You can hear her sizzling over here. And this was, I knew, going to be the hardest part. Cut the gas tank down. I had to cut that with a hacksaw to get it out of there. So you can see you can do it with the rear in the car. You do have to take a few of the things off. I probably took more than I needed to, but that's okay. I pulled the panhard bar off and I forget what else, but not too much. So I guess I will try to get this top piece off of the fuel tank now. Really not going to need any of those lines anymore, so don't even know. I'll just have to put the cap back on it. I might put that just in there for the fuel level sensor and stuff, I guess, but hopefully the new one goes in easier because I'm exhausted already and it's only like lunchtime. All right, we got her out finally here. I have to throw the fan on because I'm so hot back here, but you can see it just had like the original, like where the fuel pump would have been. My buddy back in the day, just that's when he pulled it out to put the V8 in it. He just basically put a chunk of hose on there, and that hose was disconnected. So that's why towards the end here, the last couple times I drove it, it would run out of gas like halfway down the tank, which didn't make sense because I knew the sender always worked. So I'll probably just put it back in with that sender and stuff again, just so I have the sender in there. I can take some of that hose and stuff out so I don't have to fight with that, but other than that, I think we're getting close to being ready to put the new one back in here, so that'll be the next step here. Okay, so I was fighting to try to get this fuel, like basically this, it used to be the fuel pump, right? The fuel pump was taken out. That piece of hose was added there for a suction piece to the bottom of the tank, and it still has the fuel pressure sender in it. I'm hoping I didn't beat it up too bad here, but I want to keep that so I know what my fuel level's at, because it's like a stock style fuel tank I'm putting back in it. It just has a sump on it. So I cut all the lines. I was planning on leaving them just in case down the road or whatever, if I want to put an inline tank or a pump, sorry, an in-tank pump, but I just said screw it. I'm just gonna cut off the excess here because I can't even get it started just the way it's sitting there. So instead of fighting all this for no reason, I'm just gonna cut off the ones I don't need except for the vent, and it should be a lot easier. And I'm gonna put it in before I install it in the car. So I was thinking this was probably the fuel. I guess it would have been, yeah, see, you could see there was originally like the power wires for the fuel pump too, so, but the only one that's connected now, which I almost was like, maybe I should get rid of this, and then I remembered, oh yeah, the fuel level. So I would like to kind of know what my fuel's at, so I'm gonna keep that. Okay guys, sort of loud with the fan running probably, but it's hot out today, so I got everything running. You can see I'm getting pretty dirty now. I have to actually work for once. But I cut all the fuel lines off here. I just bent them up a little bit so that they don't get fuel out of them. I'm just gonna put a little RTD on the end of them. I was gonna put caps with plugs and stuff, but I'm like, whatever. The only problem it would ever be was if it sloshed out or something like that, right? So if the gas was to slosh out of the one that was basically like the main fuel line. So other than that, I'm just gonna leave the vent line in. I almost wanted to cut it back a little bit, but I think I'm gonna leave it. If it starts getting in my way, then I'll take it back out and cut it. But so that's what I'm doing. So see how much easier it is to put this in, because I was like fighting it. So you can see how it has to go, and this is part of the problem, because this tank is like sits flat like this. So and the tank is like that, and so that's why it's so hard to get this thing in, and it's actually in the car too. So okay, if you guys can see, we got the fuel tank in. The straps didn't fit back very well, and neither did a bunch of this rear suspension stuff, so we fought with that for the better part of the day here. Had to get longer bolts for the straps. I'm not in really love with running the fuel lines right now, because now I had to cut the exhaust off, and I'm gonna have to figure that out. So, and now the muffler's not gonna fit where it used to because of the whole sump situation there. So I don't know about all of that, but I guess we can figure it out as we go. Might have to just get a Y-pipe made and then put like a muffler right there or something. I'm not exactly sure, but you can see, ooh, the old pretty extra budget eBay headers there. Snazzy. Okay guys, I'll tell you what's going on here. So I ordered this and fitting kit from Amazon, and it does have a bunch of different fittings, but none of them were gonna work for me, and I didn't wanna wait for any more parts and stuff, so I wanna keep moving forward here. So I went to O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and I got the bulk of what I need here. So there's a couple lines, basically one from the fuel pressure regulator going back to the tank, the return line there. So I have a bung in there for that. And then basically from the fuel pressure regulator to the carb, and from the carb, I actually forgot one. I need to get another one made up from the fuel pump, from the fuel pump to the regulator. So other than that, I think we got pretty much everything here. So I'm going to start fishing this through, making sure everything fits where I measured. I basically dragged some more or less like a string through there, cord or whatever, I guess. I could drag it and kind of put it where I wanted it to be. So I didn't want to have a bunch of excess because last time I made it too long. So I cut it where I thought it was. So I didn't want to have it too long. So I guess we'll see. So that's where we're at. I'm making progress here, but it's just, you can see like that's where I can't see it in there, I guess. Anyways, that's where the return for the fuel is. I took out, so this is a bunch of the old fittings and just return lines and just garbage. It's just all garbage, honestly. I could probably reuse this one hose, I guess, for the other piece there, but we'll see, I guess. Other than that, it's pretty much it. So gonna keep moving along here, I guess, and try to get this stuff installed here. So get back at it. So here's a bit of a tip here. I don't have Allen keys that go that big, so I'm putting that plug back in there, and I just did that, and then just grab it with a pair of vice grips, and away we go. So got most of the fuel line run here. Just waiting for the last piece that I forgot there. I got the regulator in there upside down, but yeah, making progress. All right, guys, so been hustling on this thing all day. I put the whole new fuel lines in. Everything was just so janky. It was kind of sketchy, actually. So I put brand new fuel lines, put the MSD box in, just got that connected. My son helped me with that here. So we're running that MSD 6014, so you can run boost with it. So I've got it through, I think goes up to like 21 PSI boost is what it's kind of like set for. So if you're planning on going higher, probably not the best for you, but this is just going to be run NA for right now. So we got a couple new coils to fix the ones that I broke there. Put some fuel on the carb here, just topped up the bowls a little bit there. We don't have any of the fluid or anything in it, so we're only gonna run it for a few seconds probably here if it'll start. We just want to know if there's even spark, and because I still need to wire up the fuel pump, figure out the radiator hose situation here, put the steam port on, all that kind of stuff. So let's put it to the test here and see if it'll start. So it should be the first start if it actually starts. Should we watch the transmission? There's spark plug under it.
I don't think it backfired.
That was rust coming off of the pulley.
I was gonna say, what was
coming off of the pulley? These were gas.
But it sounds like it's sizzling.
Sounds like a sizzle.
Right,
It's
it
just-
sounds like it. Oh, is that why? Yeah.
A little more gas in the carb here. Well, that was
That was loud. Pretty nice.
You're crazy. You heard it from me.
Can you watch that bowl there?
Oh,
There it goes. It's full. That one. Try this one more time.
Is that Gatorade?
that's full. It looks like.
Hey, Dad, is that Gatorade?
No, I see the flow. I see the flow.
It's probably good.
A little splash in the curb there.
Try this again.
All right.
Just watch out, John.
It's a gas
Oh,
station.
hang on. There's a hose in the pool. Oh.
Not ideal.
Alright, they're right.
But,
Yeah. It's good still.
well, it might not idle though, because that, just thinking here, that brake.
The booster one?
Yeah.
No, it's at the.
Yeah, it is, but there's the T here.
Oh, the third one.
Yeah, will that be a problem?
Just plug it. I'll hold it. This is genius. Fail-proof plan.
Okay. Starting attempt round 2. Okay, I think we could call that a success.
Oh, goodness.
It doesn't even sound that loud. I mean, it was loud, but not as loud as I was thinking. Because it's just open headers.
Okay, well, I think we could say that was a success. That's probably going to do it for this video. And I'm going to keep hustling and try to get this thing ready. I've got less than 2 weeks left because we're a 2-day drive. Well, actually 3 days, because what I'm trying to do is get to the Irwindale Speedway to get to David Freiberger is going to drive there with about probably 30-ish cars or something like that. So I don't know if I drive this thing, depending, I don't know, I'm not sure yet. We're pressed for time, like my wife's going to come and whatnot here probably, so I'm not sure how that all will work. Might just go down there, trailer it, and then just trailer back with them or whatever, but yeah, progress, huge progress there. Actually idled and sounded pretty good actually, so gonna have to figure out the timing stuff here. I don't know about any of that. I have no idea what we got it set to here, but obviously this works. So like I said, I would like to go meet up with those guys. Trying to, honestly, I don't ever really do that, but I'm gonna try to use this as a tool to grow my YouTube channel. I don't ever kind of rely on anybody or ask anybody for help, but they're doing it anyways and I'm going. So I mean, whether or not it does anything for the channel or not is to be determined, but definitely a grind to get this thing together. I've been working on it steady, like for 3 steady days straight, and that was not even including a bunch of the other stuff we had done before that. So this engine's been in and out of here probably 20 times already. So pretty happy to see that it actually runs and that sounded good, and there was no valve train noise like the last engine every time I drove it and all that stuff. So sounds like it's gonna be pretty good here. So thanks for watching again, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, share me around on social media. TK's Garage 405 on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And you guys are going to see a name change coming. Might even be during this video here. I haven't had time to deal with it yet, but pretty sure I'm going to be changing my name to Cruisin' with Kevin here. Change my YouTube channel, my handle, and all my social media stuff. I don't want to be sharing a name with somebody else, and I didn't realize that when I had made the TK's Garage account. That's why I added the 405 to it for Oklahoma. So you'll probably see that change either on this video or probably pretty soon here anyway. So thanks for watching again, guys.